But it exploded in my first term, and it's continued to explode ever since. And among those who first saw its potential and made use of it were those who used the internet to do all kinds of interesting things, including share information on how to make bombs. We didn't have blog sites back then, so the instrument of carrying this forward were basically the White Ring radio talk show hosts. And they understood clearly that emotion was more powerful than reason most of the time. And it happened that they got much bigger listenership and more advertisers and more commercial success if they kept people in the white heat. For 99% of them, it was just that. Turn on the radio, listen to somebody say something you agree with, vent your anger, go on with your life and make the best of it. But it shaped the environment in which we were in. But when you get mad, sometimes you wind up producing exactly the reverse result of what you say you are for. Think about your own life. Forget about politics. Every time you made an important decision in some non-political, totally personal way, when you were angry or frustrated or afraid, there's about a 75% chance you made a mistake. Isn't that right? You know, and the older you get, the more you'll see that. It's about, doing things when you are mad is by and large a prescription for error. So the only thing I'm saying is, have at it, go fight, go do whatever you want. You don't have to be nice, and you can be harsh, but you've got to be very careful not to advocate violence or cross the line. Yes, the Boston Tea Party involved the seizure of tea and a ship because it was taxation without representation. Because even the Massachusetts Bay Colony, which had been largely self-governing, had it stripped from them. This fight is about taxation by duly, honestly elected representatives that you don't happen to agree with, that you can vote out at the next election. And 2 years after that, and 2 years after that, and 2 years after that. That's very different. We can't let the debate veer so far into hatred that we lose focus of our common humanity. It's really important. We can't ever fudge the fact that there is a basic line dividing criticism from violence or its advocacy. And that the closer you get to the line and the more responsibility you have, the more you have to think about the echo chamber in which your words resonate. Look, criticism is part of the lifeblood of democracy. Nobody's right all the time. But Oklahoma City proved once again that beyond the law there is no freedom. And there is a difference between criticizing a policy or a politician and demonizing the government that guarantees our freedom and the public servants who implement them. And the more prominence you have in politics or media or some other pillar of life, the more you have to keep that in mind. I acknowledged that in my political career I had on more than one occasion, in the face of a government policy I disagreed with or a practice I thought was insensitive, referred in a disparaging way generally to federal bureaucrats, as if all of them were arrogant or insensitive or unresponsive. And I have never done it again. You could not read the stories of the lives of the people who perished at Oklahoma City and not respond in that way. Now, I have to tell you that I had a great time fighting with Newt Gingrich and Tom DeLay and Dick Armey. I love seeing that picture of him in the Post today, the outline Army with his cowboy hat on. I remember when he called Hillary a socialist. I remember when Newt Gingrich, shortly after becoming Speaker-elect, said that Hillary and I were the enemies of normal Americans. It didn't bother me a bit. I was glad to get in and mix it up. But what we learned from Oklahoma City is not that we should gag each other or that we should reduce our passion for the positions we hold, but that the words we use really do matter, because there's this vast echo chamber, and they go across space and they fall on the serious and the delirious alike. They fall on the connected and the unhinged alike. And I am not trying to muzzle anybody, but one of the things that the conservatives have always brought to the table in America is a reminder that no law can replace personal responsibility. And the more power you have and the more influence you have, the more responsibility you have. Look, I'm glad they're fighting over health care and everything else. Let them have at it. But I think that all you have to do is read the paper every day to see how many people there are who are deeply, deeply troubled. We know now that there are people involved in groups, these hatred groups, the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, the others. 99% of them will never do anything they shouldn't do, but there are people who advocate violence and anticipate violence.